Chapter 1. The Illusion. The acrid smell of motor oil clung to Liam Garrett's clothes as he wiped his grease-stained hands on a shop rag. To anyone passing by Murphy's auto shop, he was just another mechanic, skilled with his hands, but nothing special. And that's exactly what Liam wanted them to think. "Hey, boss, that Bentley's all squared away," called Diego, the newest hire, from underneath a luxury sedan. Liam nodded, surveying the garage he'd ostensibly managed for the past 8 years. "Good work. Make sure Mr. Harrington knows we replaced the timing belt, too. Last thing we need is that going out on him next month." As Diego returned to work, Liam slipped into his office, a cramped room with faded posters of muscle cars and a desk cluttered with invoices. He closed the door, pulled out his secure phone, and dialed a number from memory. "Avery? It's me. How's the new location coming along?" Liam's voice shifted, the casual drawl of a blue-collar worker replaced by the precise diction of a man accustomed to boardrooms. "The Vegas opening is set for next Friday. Reservations are already booked solid for 3 months," replied Avery Sullivan, his operations director for Sovereign Dining Group. The restaurant empire Liam had built over 15 years, now encompassing 37 high-end establishments across the country. "And the kitchen staff?" Martinez confirmed as head chef. "Yes, contracts signed this morning." "Perfect. Keep me updated on the final preparations." Liam ended the call, slipping the phone back into a hidden compartment in his desk. Few people knew that just a mechanic, Liam Garrett was actually the founder and CEO of Sovereign Dining Group, worth over $300 million. His wife, Brooke, certainly didn't. Their unusual arrangement had begun as a social experiment of sorts. When they'd met, Liam had already made his first $50 million, but was wary of gold diggers. He'd created the mechanic persona as a test. If Brooke loved him thinking he was a working-class guy, he'd know her feelings were genuine. She'd passed the test initially, seemingly captivated by his knowledge of classic cars and his work ethic. They'd married in a modest ceremony, moved into a comfortable but unassuming home in the suburbs, and began what Liam believed was an honest life together. For years, he'd maintained the charade, telling himself he'd reveal the truth eventually. He kept a small apartment above Murphy's auto shop for late nights, but primarily lived with Brooke in their suburban home. The auto shop itself was real, a profitable side business run by his trusted friend, the actual Murphy, who was happy to maintain the illusion that Liam was just the manager in exchange for generous compensation. Liam had convinced himself the deception was harmless. He kept their lifestyle comfortable but modest. Nice vacations explained away as careful saving, a dependable car justified as an employee discount. He'd planned to reveal everything on their 10th anniversary, now just 6 months away. He'd even started drafting plans for their dream home, which he would present as a surprise gift when he finally came clean. But lately, something had changed in Brooke. The warmth in her eyes when he came home had cooled. Their conversations grew shorter, her excuses for late nights at her real estate office more frequent. She'd begun making subtle digs about his career, comments about friends' husbands getting promotions or starting businesses. And then there were the calls from clients that she'd take in another room, her voice dropping to a whisper. As Liam closed up the shop that evening, he wondered if his experiment had run its course. Maybe it was time to end the charade sooner than planned. But first, he needed to know if his suspicions about Brooke were justified. Was her growing distance just frustration with their seemingly static life? Or was there something or someone else? That night, as he drove home in his deliberately middle-class sedan, Liam made a decision. He would accelerate his timeline. 3 months, not 6. He'd reveal everything at their anniversary dinner, already planned at Ellsworth. Ironically, one of his own restaurants, though Brooke didn't know that. It would be the perfect setting to begin their new, honest chapter together, provided, of course, that there was still a together to salvage. Chapter 2. Shadow Games. Brooke Garrett applied another coat of lipstick, studying her reflection in the mirror of her downtown real estate office. At 34, she remained striking. Honey blonde hair falling in perfect waves around a heart-shaped face, green eyes calculating beneath precisely arched brows. She'd worked hard to maintain her appearance, viewing it as essential to her success. Success that had come, but not in the magnitude she'd envisioned. When she'd married Liam Garrett 8 years ago, she genuinely believed she was in love. He was handsome, intelligent, and oddly refined for a mechanic. She'd expected him to be ambitious, to leverage those qualities into something greater. Perhaps management, then ownership of the auto shop, expanding to a chain. Something that would elevate them from comfortable suburbia to the luxury lifestyle she craved. Instead, he seemed content, unchanging, stagnant. Her phone chimed. A text from Preston Rollins. Dinner tonight? The usual place? Brooke's lips curved upward as she typed her reply. 8 p.m. Don't be late. Preston had entered her life 4 months ago when he'd come looking for a high-rise condo. 45, distinguished, with salt and pepper hair and the confident bearing of wealth. He represented everything she'd hoped Liam would become. His real estate development company was expanding rapidly, and he made it clear that Brooke could be part of that ascent, professionally and personally. Their affair had begun with lingering glances over property listings, escalated to drinks to discuss client needs, and quickly evolved into clandestine meetings at luxurious hotels. Preston showered her with the attention and gifts she felt she deserved. Designer handbags explained to Liam as successful commission bonuses, jewelry kept hidden in her office. Heading out, Brooke? Asked Tanya, her assistant, poking her head around the door. Yes, client dinner, Brooke replied smoothly. Potential buyer for the Lakewood property. The lies came easily now. To Tanya. To Liam. Sometimes, even to herself. Across town, Preston Rollins concluded a conference call in his penthouse office. At his desk sat a framed photo of a golden retriever. Conspicuously, no family pictures. Preston preferred to keep his romantic entanglements uncomplicated by legal commitments. Mr. Rollins, your 3 o'clock is here, announced his secretary through the intercom. Send him in. The door opened to reveal a thin man with a perpetual hint of a smirk. Connor Wiley, Preston's personal investigator, the man he called whenever he needed information that wasn't readily available through legitimate channels. What did you find? Preston asked, not bothering with pleasantries. Connor placed a folder on the desk. Interesting stuff about your lady friend's husband. That auto shop's just the tip of the iceberg. Preston raised an eyebrow, opening the folder. His eyes widened slightly as he scanned the contents. You're certain about this? He asked, looking up at Connor. Absolutely. The guy's got one hell of a secret life. Makes me wonder what she sees in you. Connor chuckled, then quickly sobered at Preston's glare. Preston leaned back in his chair, processing this unexpected information. She doesn't know. She can't. No way. She thinks she married a grease monkey. A slow, calculating smile spread across Preston's face. This changes things. Leave the file. I need to reconsider my approach. After Connor left, Preston stared out at the city skyline, thoughts racing. Brooke Garrett wasn't just the bored wife of a mechanic. She was the unwitting wife of one of the most successful restaurateurs in the country. The possibilities this presented were tantalizing. Later that night, in an upscale restaurant safely outside their usual social circles, Preston watched Brooke sip her wine, her 4th of the evening. You seem tense tonight, he observed, reaching across the table to stroke her hand. Brooke sighed. Anniversary's coming up. 9 years of watching potential go nowhere. Poor thing, Preston murmured. What would you say if I offered you a way out? A new life with me? Brooke's eyes widened. Preston, are you? Not proposing, darling. Not the marriage type. He smiled to soften the blow. But I am suggesting a partnership, professional and otherwise. My company's expanding to the West Coast. You could head up our real estate division. Leave Liam. The words came out barely above a whisper. Is there really anything keeping you with him? Besides habit, Preston pressed, watching her carefully. Think about it. The life you deserve versus the life you've settled for. As Brooke drove home later that night, Preston's words echoed in her mind. The life she deserved versus the life she'd settled for. The next morning, she called a divorce attorney. Just for information, she told herself. Just to know her options. Neither Brooke nor Preston realized they were pieces in a larger game. One where they weren't the players they believed themselves to be, but pawns on someone else's board. Chapter 3. The Unraveling. 2 weeks before their anniversary, Liam sat in the downtown office of Sovereign Dining Group, reviewing expansion plans with his executive team. Here, in the sleek conference room 50 floors above the city streets, he was fully himself, commanding, incisive, dressed in a custom suit that cost more than what his fictional mechanic persona supposedly made in a month. The Paris location is still facing permit delays, reported Serena Martinez, his international development director. But Milan is ahead of schedule. We should be able to open by Christmas. Liam nodded, making notes on his tablet. And the Chicago renovation? On budget, on time, replied Jordan Wells, his construction overseer. The new design is spectacular. Early press reviews are generating serious buzz. The meeting continued efficiently, each team member updating on their respective responsibilities. This was the world Liam had built, a seamless operation of exceptional people running exceptional restaurants. Here, surrounded by those who knew the real him, he felt a pang of regret for the charade he maintained with Brooke. As the meeting concluded, Avery lingered behind. His oldest friend and most trusted confidant, Avery had been the only one to question Liam's decision to hide his true identity from his wife. "How's the home front?" Avery asked once they were alone. Liam sighed, loosening his tie. "Complicated. I'm almost certain she's having an affair." Avery's expression darkened. "You confirmed it?" "Not definitively, but I hired someone to look into it." Liam pulled out his secure phone as it buzzed with an incoming message. Speak of the devil. The text was from Maya Torres, the private investigator he'd retained. It contained only an address and a time. 8 p.m. tonight. "I need to go," Liam said, already standing. "Reschedule my afternoon calls." 3 hours later, Liam sat in an unmarked car across from an upscale restaurant, watching as Brooke emerged, laughing, her hand entwined with that of a tall, distinguished-looking man. Even from a distance, the intimacy between them was unmistakable. "Preston Rollins," said Maya from the driver's seat, passing Liam a file. "Real estate developer. Divorced twice. No children. He's been seeing your wife for approximately 4 months." Liam flipped through the file, photographs of Brooke and Preston at various restaurants, entering hotels, even kissing in a parking garage. Each image drove the knife deeper. "There's more," Maya continued, her tone carefully professional. "Based on her credit card records and phone logs, she's consulted with a divorce attorney twice in the past week. The betrayal wasn't just the affair. It was that Brooke was planning to leave him, believing he was nothing more than a mechanic with limited prospects. The irony might have been amusing if it wasn't so painful. "Your instructions were just surveillance," Maya said after a lengthy silence. "Do you want me to continue?" Liam stared at the final photograph in the file, Brooke looking up at Preston with an expression she hadn't directed at Liam in years. "No," he replied, his voice eerily calm. "I have everything I need." That night, instead of confronting Brooke about her late return home, Liam played his part perfectly, the trusting, oblivious husband. He listened to her lies about a client dinner, asked appropriate questions about the supposed property viewing, and pretended not to notice the unfamiliar scent of expensive cologne clinging faintly to her clothes. But inside, something fundamental had shifted. The plan to reveal his true identity at their anniversary dinner took on a new dimension. It would no longer be the beginning of a more honest chapter together. It would be the opening move in a game of retribution. The next morning, Liam made 2 calls from his secure office at the auto shop. The first was to Ellsworth, his flagship restaurant, where he arranged specific details for their upcoming anniversary dinner: a custom menu, a particular table, and special instructions for the staff. The second call was to his attorney, Franklin Walsh. "I need divorce papers drawn up," Liam instructed, "and I need them ready by next Friday." "Any particular terms?" Franklin asked, his tone indicating that nothing about this request surprised him. "Yes," Liam replied, a cold edge entering his voice. "Very particular terms." Over the next week, Liam methodically prepared for what was to come. By day, he played the role of mechanic and unsuspecting husband. By night, he orchestrated the dismantling of the life Brooke thought she understood. He moved money, closed joint accounts, and documented every aspect of her affair, not out of panic or haste, but with the calculated precision that had built his empire. 3 days before their anniversary, Liam received a final report from Maya. Preston Rollins had been investigating him, had somehow discovered his true identity, yet hadn't shared this information with Brooke. That was interesting and potentially useful. On the morning of their anniversary, Liam kissed Brooke goodbye as she left for work, reminded her of their dinner reservation, and told her he loved her. It wasn't entirely a lie. Part of him would always love the woman he'd thought she was. But that woman, he now understood, had never really existed. Chapter 4. The Dinner. Ellsworth radiated old-world elegance, crystal chandeliers casting a warm glow over hand-painted murals and white tablecloths. From her seat at the best table in the house, Brooke surveyed the opulent dining room with barely concealed envy. "This is unexpected," she said, fingering the stem of her champagne flute. "How did you manage a reservation here? It's impossible to get a table without booking months in advance." Liam smiled enigmatically. "I have my ways. Happy anniversary, Brooke." She returned the smile, though it didn't reach her eyes. 9 years. Can you believe it? Time flies, Liam replied, studying his wife's face. She looked beautiful in a navy blue dress he'd never seen before, probably a gift from Preston. The thought should have stung, but Liam found himself strangely detached, as though watching a play whose ending he already knew. Their first course arrived, an artful arrangement of seared scallops that wasn't on the regular menu. Brooke raised her eyebrows. "Special menu tonight," Liam explained. "I arranged it with the chef." "You what?" Confusion flickered across Brooke's features. "How would you even know the chef here?" "I know a lot of things you might find surprising," Liam said lightly, raising his glass. "To new discoveries." Brooke hesitated before clinking her glass against his. Throughout the appetizer and main course, their conversation remained superficially pleasant, though Liam noticed Brooke checking her phone repeatedly under the table. "Expecting a call?" he asked innocently. Brooke flushed. "Just making sure the office doesn't need me. You know how clients can be." "I do," Liam agreed. "People rarely show you who they truly are." The comment hung in the air between them, loaded with meaning Brooke couldn't yet comprehend. As they finished their entrees, Liam decided it was time. "I've been thinking about our future," he began. Brooke set down her fork, a flash of guilt crossing her face. "Liam, let me finish," he said gently. 9 years ago, we made promises to each other. Promises about honesty and loyalty." Brooke's expression grew guarded. "Yes, we did. But we haven't been honest with each other, have we?" She paled slightly. "What do you mean?" Instead of answering directly, Liam gestured to the restaurant around them. "What do you think of Ellsworth?" Brooke blinked at the apparent non sequitur. "It's beautiful. Exclusive." "What?" "Because I own it," Liam stated simply, along with 36 other restaurants across 3 continents. Brooke stared at him, incomprehension slowly giving way to disbelief. "That's not funny, Liam. It's not meant to be." He leaned forward. "The mechanic thing? It's a cover. Has been from the beginning. I founded Sovereign Dining Group 15 years ago. Current value, just over 300 million. Brooke's champagne glass slipped from her fingers, spilling across the white tablecloth. A server appeared instantly to address the mess, addressing Liam with deference that couldn't be mistaken. "Is everything to your satisfaction, Mr. Garrett?" the server asked. "Perfect as always, Thomas." "Thank you." As Thomas efficiently cleaned up and replaced Brooke's glass, she stared at Liam, her mind visibly racing to process this revelation. "You're serious," she finally whispered. "All this time, you've been lying to me?" "Yes," Liam admitted. "Initially to make sure you love me for me, not my money. Later, well, the longer it went on, the harder it became to tell the truth." Brooke's shock gave way to calculation. Liam could practically see the numbers running behind her eyes, the lifestyle adjustments, the social standing this revelation promised. "I can't believe this," she said, a tremulous smile beginning to form. "All these years living in that house, driving those cars, when we could have been living the high life." Liam finished for her. "Yes, that was the plan. To to surprise you with the truth and build the life you've always wanted. Hope bloomed in Brooke's expression. We still can. Liam, this changes everything. It does, he agreed, but not in the way you're thinking. Liam took a sip of his wine, savoring both its complex notes and the moment at hand. You see, Brooke, while I was keeping my secret, you were keeping yours. The late nights? The mysterious client calls? Preston Rollins is many things, but he's not a client looking for property. At least, not the kind you sell professionally. The color drained from Brooke's face. I don't know what you're talking about. Please, Liam said softly. Let's not add more lies to the pile. I know about the affair. I know about the divorce attorney. I know everything. Brooke's expression hardened, her initial shock giving way to defensive anger. So what? You lied to me for our entire marriage. You made me think we were struggling when we could have had everything. And that justifies betrayal? Liam asked, his voice still calm. Interesting moral calculus. You don't understand, Brooke hissed, leaning forward. Do you know what it's like to watch your friends advance while your husband stays stuck in the same dead-end job? To put on a brave face when people ask about your life? To wonder if this is all there ever will be? Liam looked at his wife, really looked at her, and saw for the first time the depth of her dissatisfaction, her materialism, her complete lack of loyalty. During her tirade, she hadn't once mentioned love, only status, possessions, appearances. You're still just a simple mechanic, Brooke laughed bitterly. I need more. As if on cue, her phone buzzed. She glanced down at it, then quickly away, but not before Liam caught Preston's name on the screen. Your friend calling? Liam asked, the word dripping with sarcasm. Brooke said nothing, jaw clenched. Liam signaled for the check. The maitre d' himself approached their table. Mr. CEO, your usual arrangements have been made, he said with a respectful nod. Brooke stared, speechless, the maitre d's casual confirmation of Liam's status landing like a physical blow. Thank you, Michael, Liam replied smoothly, signing the check without looking at the amount. As they sat in loaded silence, Brooke's phone rang again. This time, Liam reached across the table and turned it over so they could both see the screen. It wasn't Preston calling, but a number Brooke didn't recognize. You should answer that, Liam suggested. It's important. With shaking hands, Brooke accepted the call, putting it on speaker at Liam's gesture. Mrs. Garrett, came a crisp, professional voice. This is Denise from Franklin Walsh's office. I'm calling to inform you that the divorce papers have been filed. You'll be served officially tomorrow, but Mr. Walsh asked me to give you advance notice as a professional courtesy. Brooke's eyes widened in panic. There must be some mistake. I haven't. No mistake, Mrs. Garrett. Mr. Garrett is our client. Good evening. The call ended, leaving Brooke staring at the phone in her hand. You, she began. Yes, Liam confirmed, standing up. Me. You want an out, Brooke. Now you have your wish. Just not on the terms you planned. He placed his napkin on the table and buttoned his jacket. Don't bother coming home. Your things have been packed and moved to a storage unit. The access code has been sent to your email, along with the key to a room at the extended stay near your office. Paid through the month. You can't do this, Brooke stammered, the full implications of her situation becoming clear. Half of everything is mine. The law, Liam interrupted, is quite clear about infidelity and its impact on divorce settlements in this state, especially with the prenup you signed. As for half of everything being yours, he smiled without humor. You're right. Half of everything we built during our marriage is yours. Unfortunately for you, Sovereign Dining Group predates our relationship and was carefully held separate from our marital assets. Your settlement will reflect your contribution to our middle-class lifestyle, not my business success. Brooke's face contorted with rage. This isn't over, Liam. I'll fight you. I'll tell everyone how you deceived me. Kept me living like a pauper while you. Go ahead, Liam shrugged. Tell anyone who'll listen about the terrible husband who protected his assets from a gold digger. I'm sure it will make for fascinating conversation at your next social climbing attempt. He turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and if I were you, I'd be careful about leaning too heavily on Preston. He knew who I was weeks ago. Never mentioned it to you, did he? Ask yourself why. With that parting shot, Liam walked out of the restaurant, leaving Brooke alone at the table, surrounded by the luxury she'd coveted and now couldn't afford. Chapter 5. Count of Moves. The morning after the anniversary dinner, Preston Rollins paced his penthouse, phone pressed to his ear. What do you mean? He knew everything. How long? Brooke's voice came through, thick with tears. I don't know, Preston. Weeks, maybe months. He had divorce papers ready. He packed my things. She broke off with a sob. Calm down. Preston ordered, mind racing. Where are you now? Some cheap extended stay hotel. He had me locked out of our house. Not that it matters, since apparently we've been living like paupers by choice. Did you know? Did you know he was Liam Garrett of Sovereign Dining? Preston hesitated just a fraction too long. You didn't know, Brooke whispered, betrayal coloring her voice. You knew and you didn't tell me. I only found out recently, Preston defended. I was planning how best to leverage the information. Leverage? What are you talking about? Preston cursed himself silently. Nothing. Look, we need to regroup. Come to my place. We'll figure this out. Figure what out? My husband's divorcing me. I have no home, and the prenup I signed means I'll get practically nothing. Meanwhile, you've been playing some kind of game. It's not a game. It's business, Preston snapped. Garrett's restaurant empire would be the perfect addition to my portfolio. I've been trying to break into the high-end restaurant market for years. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. So that's what this was about, Brooke finally said, her voice hollow. Using me to get to Liam's business. Don't be dramatic. Our relationship has nothing to do with. Save it, Brooke interrupted. I need to go. My lawyer's calling. She hung up before Preston could respond. Cursing, he threw his phone onto the couch and stalked to the bar, pouring himself a generous scotch despite the early hour. His phone rang again almost immediately. Thinking Brooke had calmed down, he answered without checking the caller ID. Back to your senses? He asked. I've never left them, came Liam Garrett's measured voice. Preston froze, scotch halfway to his lips. Garrett, this is unexpected. Is it? I thought a man of your business acumen would anticipate counter-moves. Preston set down his drink, mind shifting into strategic mode. What can I do for you? You can meet me. Today, 1 o'clock at the Sovereign offices downtown. May I ask what this is regarding? Liam's laugh was short and without humor. You've been trying to get a meeting with me for months, Rollins. Through proper channels, that is. Now you have one. I suggest you don't waste it. The call ended abruptly, leaving Preston staring at his phone. This was what he'd wanted, direct access to Garrett, but the circumstances made him uneasy. Still, an opportunity was an opportunity. He needed to be prepared. Across town, in a sleek corner office 50 stories above the city, Liam ended his call with Preston and buzzed his assistant. Alicia, I need you to clear my afternoon after my 1 o'clock with Rollins, and have legal send up the Monarch Group contracts. The failed acquisition from last year? Alicia asked, confusion evident in her voice. The very same, Liam confirmed. After Alicia left, Liam swiveled his chair to face the floor-to-ceiling windows, gazing out at the city he'd quietly conquered. The cold fury that had sustained him through the previous night had crystallized into something harder, more focused. Preston Rollins had made a critical mistake in targeting Sovereign through Brooke. He was about to learn the cost of that error. A knock at his door interrupted his thoughts. Avery entered, concern etched on his features. I heard about last night, he said without preamble. Are you okay? Liam gestured for his friend to sit. Better than expected, actually. There's something clarifying about having your suspicions confirmed. And Brooke? Exactly who I feared she'd become. Liam handed Avery a folder. I need your help with the next phase. Avery scanned the contents, eyebrows rising. This is comprehensive and ruthless. Is it a problem? Liam asked, his tone making it clear there was only one acceptable answer. Avery closed the folder and handed it back. No, but are you sure? Once this is in motion. I'm sure, Liam cut him off. Rollins and Brooke made their choices. Now it's time for consequences. At precisely 1 o'clock, Preston Rollins was escorted into Liam's office. He dressed meticulously in his most expensive suit, armed with financial projections and partnership proposals, his standard arsenal for high-stakes meetings. Liam didn't stand when Preston entered, merely gestured to the chair across from his desk. Drink, he offered, indicating a crystal decanter of amber liquid. No, thank you, Preston replied, setting his briefcase on the floor beside him. I prefer to keep a clear head for business discussions. Wise policy, Liam agreed, pouring himself a small measure. Though you seem to have abandoned it where my wife is concerned. Preston straightened in his chair. Former wife, soon enough. And I think we both know marriages end for reasons that precede any external factors. Spoken like a man who's practiced that particular justification before, Liam remarked. But let's not pretend this meeting is about Brooke. We both know why you're really here. Do we? Preston matched Liam's relaxed posture, hiding his eagerness. Sovereign Dining Group. You want in? You've been trying to break into the high-end restaurant market for years without success. Liam took a small sip of his drink. Your attempt to access it through my wife was creative, if ultimately misguided. Preston's expression didn't change, but his fingers tightened almost imperceptibly on the armrests of his chair. Business is business. Nothing personal. On that we disagree, Liam replied. But let's assume, for a moment, that I'm willing to overlook the personal aspect. What exactly did you hope to gain from this meeting? Preston leaned forward, sensing an opening. Partnership. Your restaurants, my real estate holdings, and development expertise. Together, we could double Sovereign's footprint within 3 years. I have the projections here. He reached for his briefcase. Liam waved him off. I'm familiar with your portfolio, Rollins. Impressive on paper. Less so when one examines the details. Preston's hand stilled. Meaning I've had my people analyzing your business for weeks. Liam explained, opening a folder on his desk. You're over-leveraged. 3 of your recent developments are behind schedule and over budget. Your last 2 quarterly reports to your investors contained creative accounting, shall we say. The color drained from Preston's face. How did you? The same way I know about your affair with my wife. I pay attention. Liam closed the folder. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to sell me controlling interest in the Monarch Group. Preston barked out a laugh. The Monarch Group? That's not even mine. It's owned by a holding company, which is owned by another holding company, which is ultimately controlled by you through a rather elegant shell structure. Liam finished for him. The same structure you used to hide assets from your ex-wives and the IRS. The amusement vanished from Preston's face. You have no proof of any of this. Don't I? Liam pushed a stack of documents across the desk. Page 4 is particularly interesting. Those offshore accounts aren't nearly as untraceable as you believed. Preston didn't touch the papers. What do you want? I told you. The Monarch Group, at 40% of market value. That's highway robbery, Preston protested. No, Liam corrected him, voice hardening. Highway robbery is trying to steal another man's wife and business in the same move. Consider this a discounted price for a valuable lesson. Preston's jaw worked as he calculated his options. And if I refuse? Liam smiled thinly. Then those documents go to the SEC, the IRS, and your investors. You'll be fighting legal battles for the next decade, assuming you manage to stay out of prison. You're bluffing, Preston said, but uncertainty had crept into his voice. Try me. Liam checked his watch. You have until tomorrow to decide. My lawyers will call yours at noon with the paperwork. Sign, or face the consequences. As Preston opened his mouth to argue further, Liam stood, making it clear the meeting was over. Oh, and Rollins? Stay away from Brooke. Your usefulness to her ended the moment she learned you knew about my real identity all along. After a stunned Preston was escorted out, Liam buzzed Alicia. Give me Franklin Walsh. When his attorney arrived 30 minutes later, Liam outlined the next steps of his plan in precise detail. Franklin listened without interruption, making occasional notes. The Monarch acquisition is just the beginning, Liam concluded. I want Rollins completely neutralized. Franklin adjusted his glasses. Legally, we're on solid ground with the evidence we have. But this level of thoroughness goes beyond what's necessary for a favorable divorce settlement. This isn't about the divorce, Liam replied. This is about consequences. Rollins thought he could use my wife to get to my business. I'm going to use his own tactics against him, only more effectively. Franklin nodded slowly. And Brooke? The divorce proceedings begin officially tomorrow. Proceed as planned. No deviations, no mercy. Liam's expression was implacable. She made her choice. Chapter 6, Collateral Damage. Brooke Garrett sat across from her divorce attorney, Martha Linwood, in a downtown law office that screamed practical competence rather than ostentatious wealth. Much like Martha herself, with her sensible suit and direct manner. "It's bad," Martha said, closing the folder containing Liam's divorce filing. "The prenuptial agreement is ironclad. Your infidelity is documented extensively, and most of his assets are properly segregated from marital property." Brooke pressed her fingers against her temples. "There has to be something, some way to contest it. We could try to argue that his deception about his career and wealth constitutes fraud, which could potentially void the prenup." Martha's tone made it clear how unlikely she considered this strategy. "But even if we succeed, which is a long shot, the documented infidelity significantly weakens your position for an equitable distribution. So what am I left with?" Brooke asked, voice hollow. Martha referred to her notes. "The suburban house, which is fully paid off. Your car. Joint savings of approximately $120,000. Your personal items and jewelry." Brooke laughed bitterly. "That's it? After 9 years? He's worth hundreds of millions, most of which he earned before your marriage and kept carefully separate from marital assets." Martha reminded her. "Ms. Garrett, I need to be frank. This case would be challenging under the best circumstances. The fact that your husband has retained Franklin Walsh makes it nearly impossible." Franklin Walsh, one of the top divorce attorneys in the country, known for being ruthlessly effective and ethically flexible. Martha removed her glasses. "If we fight this, you'll spend most of what you do get on legal fees, with little chance of improving the outcome." Brooke slumped in her chair, the full reality of her situation sinking in. Her affair with Preston, motivated by boredom and ambition, had seemed almost justified when she believed Liam was just a mechanic with limited prospects. Now it revealed her as precisely the gold digger Liam had feared, and left her with nothing but a middle-class settlement and a shattered reputation. Her phone buzzed with a text from Preston. "We need to talk. Urgent." She ignored it, focusing back on Martha. "What if I just apologize? Try to reconcile?" Martha's expression softened with something like pity. "In my experience, once papers are filed, reconciliation is rare. Given the circumstances, I'd advise you to accept the settlement terms and move forward with your life." After leaving Martha's office, Brooke found herself wandering aimlessly through downtown, past gleaming buildings that housed businesses like Liam's, places of power and wealth she'd never suspected her own husband of frequenting. The irony was excruciating. All this time, she'd been sleeping with Preston to access the very world Liam already inhabited. Her phone rang again. Preston, for the 5th time that day. Reluctantly, she answered. "What?" she snapped. "We need to meet," Preston said, his voice tight with stress. "Now." "I'm not interested in anything you have to say," Brooke replied. "You knew who Liam was and kept it from me." "This isn't about that," Preston insisted. "It's about what he's doing. To both of us." Something in his tone gave her pause. "What are you talking about?" "Not over the phone. Meet me at Riverside Park, near the boat landing." 30 minutes. Before she could argue, he hung up. Brooke considered ignoring the request, but curiosity and a growing sense of unease propelled her toward the park. When she arrived, Preston was already there, pacing beside a bench overlooking the river. He looked disheveled, his usually impeccable appearance showing signs of strain. "What happened to you?" Brooke asked, keeping her distance. Preston ran a hand through his hair. "Your husband is what happened. He's systematically dismantling my business." Brooke frowned. "What are you talking about?" "He knows everything, Brooke. The Monarch Group, the offshore accounts, everything. He's forcing me to sell him controlling interest at pennies on the dollar. And this concerns me how." Brooke crossed her arms. "Sounds like a business dispute between you two." Preston grabbed her arm, his fingers digging in painfully. "Don't you get it? This is just the beginning. He's not just divorcing you or buying me out. He's destroying us." Brooke pulled away. "Let go of me and stop being dramatic." Liam's not like that. No. Preston laughed harshly. The man lied to you for 9 years about who he really is. You have no idea what he's capable of. A chill ran down Brooke's spine. What exactly did he say to you? Preston hesitated, then deflated, sinking onto the bench. He had files, Brooke, details about my business that nobody should have access to, private accounts, tax arrangements, things that could put me in prison. And he's blackmailing you? He calls it a discounted price for a valuable lesson. Preston mimicked, bitterness evident. I have until noon tomorrow to agree to his terms. Brooke sat beside him, mind racing. So agree. Cut your losses. It's not that simple. The Monarch Group is just the start. He made it clear he's coming after everything. Preston turned to her, desperation in his eyes. We need to work together on this. Find leverage, something to make him back off. Brooke stared at the river, watching a tour boat glide past. The passengers looked carefree, worlds away from the implosion of her life. There's nothing, Preston. I signed a prenup. I cheated. I have no leverage. Everyone has pressure points, Preston insisted. Even Liam Garrett. If they exist, I don't know them, Brooke replied, standing up. And frankly, I'm not interested in finding out. This partnership, personal and otherwise, is over. Preston grabbed her wrist again. Don't walk away from me. We're in this together, whether you like it or not. No, we're not, Brooke said, yanking her arm free. You used me to get to Liam's business. He used me as some twisted loyalty test. I'm done being used. As she walked away, Preston called after her. You can't hide from this, Brooke. He's coming for both of us. Brooke didn't look back, but Preston's words followed her like a shadow. That evening, as Brooke sat alone in her extended stay room, surrounded by hastily packed boxes of her possessions, her phone rang. Unknown number. Hello, she answered cautiously. Mrs. Garrett? This is Serena Martinez from Sovereign Dining Group. Mr. Garrett has asked me to inform you that the contents of your safety deposit box have been moved to First National Bank on Fifth Avenue. The key and access information have been sent to your email. Brooke frowned. I don't have a safety deposit box. There was a pause on the other end. I'm referring to box number 247 at Meridian Trust, previously accessed by you on multiple occasions. Mr. Garrett specifically mentioned your grandmother's jewelry and personal documents. A chill ran through Brooke. She did indeed have such a box, but Liam shouldn't have known about it. She'd opened it 2 years ago, using her maiden name, specifically to keep certain items private, including letters from an ex-boyfriend that had continued well into her marriage, jewelry gift from her mother that she'd told Liam were cheap costume pieces, and most damning, a separate phone she used exclusively for communications with Preston. Thank you for letting me know, Brooke managed, ending the call with shaking hands. The message was clear. There were no secrets Liam hadn't uncovered. No stone left unturned in his investigation of her betrayal. As night fell, Brooke found herself unable to sleep, haunted by the unraveling of her life and the growing realization that she'd never really known the man she'd married. Not his wealth, not his business acumen, and certainly not his capacity for methodical retribution. Chapter 7. The Fall. 1 week after serving Brooke with divorce papers, Liam sat in his office at Sovereign Dining Group, reviewing the latest developments with Avery and Franklin. Rollins signed over the Monarch Group as demanded, Franklin reported, sliding a document across the desk. His attorneys tried to negotiate, but he folded when we sent over the second batch of evidence. Liam nodded, signing the final acquisition papers without fanfare. And the SEC inquiry. Anonymous tip delivered yesterday, Avery confirmed. They'll be auditing his last 5 years of financial statements. The offshore account documentation was particularly compelling. Good. Liam set down his pen. What about his development projects? 3 major banks have pulled funding based on the concerning rumors about his financial stability, Franklin said, allowing himself a small smile. The Westlake project will likely go into receivership by the end of the month. Perfect timing, Liam noted. Have our investment group ready to acquire it at 30 cents on the dollar. The systematic dismantling of Preston Rollins' business empire was proceeding exactly as Liam had planned, not out of emotional vindictiveness, but with the same strategic precision he applied to all business matters. Preston had attempted to use personal connections to gain business advantage. Liam was simply demonstrating how that game was properly played. "And Brooke?" Liam asked, his voice notably cooler. Franklin adjusted his glasses. "She stopped contesting the terms. Her attorney filed acceptance papers this morning." "Smart move," Avery commented. "Probably the only one she's made recently." Liam nodded, face impassive. "Make sure the house transfer goes smoothly. I want this finished quickly." "There's one other matter," Franklin added hesitantly. "She's requested a meeting. With you. Personally." Liam raised an eyebrow. "For what purpose?" "She didn't specify. Just said it was important." "Decline," Liam said flatly. "There's nothing left to discuss." Avery and Franklin exchanged glances, a silent communication that Liam didn't miss. "What?" he demanded. "Nothing," Avery replied quickly. "Just, are you sure this level of thoroughness is necessary? Rollins is finished. Brooke is practically nothing. Mission accomplished." Liam leaned back in his chair, studying his oldest friend. "You think I'm being excessive?" "I think," Avery chose his words carefully, "that you've made your point. Continuing down this path is unlikely to bring you satisfaction." "This isn't about satisfaction," Liam responded, his voice even. "It's about consequences. Rollins didn't just sleep with my wife. He tried to use her to get to my business. That kind of calculated betrayal deserves an equally calculated response." Before Avery could reply, Liam's private line rang, a number only half a dozen people possessed. "Excuse me," he said, reaching for the phone. "Garrett." The voice on the other end spoke rapidly, causing Liam's expression to darken. "When?" he demanded. "How bad?" After listening a moment longer, he added, "Keep me updated," and hung up. "Problem?" Franklin asked. "Preston Rollins just attempted suicide," Liam said, his tone clinical. "Pills and alcohol. His assistant found him. He's in intensive care." Avery blanched. "Jesus, Liam. Did he leave a note?" "Apparently. Something about systematic destruction and no way out." Liam's expression remained unchanged. Melodramatic, but on brand for Rollins. "This changes things," Franklin said, lawyer's mind immediately calculating the implications. "If he dies." "He won't," Liam interrupted. "According to my source, he's expected to recover. Rollins isn't the type to commit suicide successfully. It's too permanent a solution for a man who's spent his life finding loopholes." Despite his dismissive words, Liam felt a momentary pang of, not remorse, exactly, but a recognition that events had escalated beyond his anticipation. He had wanted Rollins ruined, not dead. The distinction mattered, if only to himself. Later that evening, as Liam worked late in his office, Alicia buzzed through on the intercom. "Sir, there's a Brooke Garrett here to see you. She doesn't have an appointment, but she's quite insistent." Liam frowned. "Tell her I'm unavailable." "I tried, sir. She says she's not leaving until she speaks with you. She mentioned something about Preston Rollins' condition." Liam considered his options. He had no desire to see Brooke, but creating a scene in the sovereign offices would be counterproductive. "Fine. Send her in." When Brooke entered, Liam was struck by how different she looked from the polished woman who'd sat across from him at their anniversary dinner just over a week ago. Her hair was pulled back carelessly, her face devoid of makeup, her clothes simple and understated. She looked younger, somehow, more like the woman he'd married. "Thank you for seeing me," she said, remaining standing despite the chair Liam gestured toward. "You have 5 minutes," he replied coldly. "Make them count." Brooke took a deep breath. "Preston tried to kill himself today. I'm aware. Because of you." There was no accusation in her tone, merely statement of fact. "Because of his own choices," Liam corrected. "And poor execution, apparently, since he's expected to recover." Brooke flinched at his callousness. "Is this who you really are? Someone who can hear a man tried to die and feel nothing? What exactly do you expect from me, Brooke? Sympathy for the man who was sleeping with my wife? Remorse for exposing his illegal business practices?" Liam's voice remained level, controlled. "Rollins made his choices. So did you. Now you're both living with the consequences." "And you?" Brooke asked quietly. "What consequences are you living with?" The question caught Liam off guard. "Excuse me?" You lied to me for 9 years, Brooke said simply. Pretended to be someone you weren't. Built our entire relationship on a foundation of deception. Where are your consequences? Liam's jaw tightened. My consequence was discovering that the woman I married was so dissatisfied with the life we built that she sought comfort in another man's bed. That she was planning to leave me when she thought I had nothing of value to offer her. That's not fair, Brooke protested. You have no idea what it was like believing we'd never move forward. Watching friends advance always seemed stuck in place. You robbed me of the chance to share in your success, to be a true partner. A true partner wouldn't have cheated, regardless of our financial circumstances, Liam pointed out, his voice hardening. A true partner would have communicated her dissatisfaction directly, not sought validation elsewhere. Brooke looked away, unable to refute this point. I'm not here to justify what I did. I know it was wrong. Unforgivable, even. I'm here because what you're doing now, to Preston, to me, it's not justice, Liam. It's vengeance. And it's changing you into someone I don't recognize. Liam stood, placing his palms flat on his desk. Your 5 minutes are up, Brooke. The divorce will be final within a month. The house is yours, as are the agreed-upon assets. Beyond that, we have nothing further to discuss. Brooke nodded, a resigned expression settling over her features. I understand. Just one more thing before I go. She reached into her purse and removed a small velvet box, placing it on his desk. My engagement ring. It never really belonged to the woman you thought you married, so it shouldn't belong to me. Before Liam could respond, she turned and walked out of his office, closing the door quietly behind her. Liam remained standing long after she'd gone, staring at the small velvet box and feeling, for the first time since discovering Brooke's betrayal, the full weight of everything he'd lost. Chapter 8. Scorched Earth. 2 days after Brooke's unexpected visit, Liam stood in his private apartment above Murphy's auto shop, surveying the space that had been his true home for years. Despite his wealth, the apartment was modestly furnished, comfortable but unpretentious, reflective of the part of himself that had never fully embraced the trappings of success. His phone buzzed with a text from Avery. Rollins discharged from hospital. Press statement forthcoming. Moments later, a second message arrived with a link to a press release. Liam opened it, scanning the carefully crafted statement from Preston's PR team. Mr. Preston Rollins wishes to address recent rumors regarding his health and business affairs. Mr. Rollins was briefly hospitalized due to an adverse reaction to prescription medication. He is now recovering at home. Regarding business matters, Mr. Rollins has chosen to divest certain assets to focus on core development projects. Any suggestions of financial impropriety are categorically false and potentially libelous. Mr. Rollins appreciates privacy during this time of business restructuring and recovery. Liam snorted at the transparent attempt at damage control. Still, he had to admire the resilience, if nothing else. Rollins was a cockroach. No matter how many times you stepped on him, he somehow survived. The question was, what happened next? Liam had achieved his primary objectives. Brooke was out of his life, the divorce proceeding without contest. Rollins was financially crippled, his reputation in tatters. The methodical revenge Liam had planned was essentially complete. So why did victory taste so hollow? Later that afternoon, as Liam worked alongside Diego on a classic Corvette at Murphy's shop, one of the few places he still felt genuinely himself, his secure phone rang. Garrett, he answered, wiping his hands on a shop rag. It's Franklin. We've got a situation with Rollins. Liam stepped away from the car. What kind of situation? He's calling a press conference. 3 o'clock today. My sources say he's planning to go public with everything. Your double life, the divorce, allegations of corporate sabotage. Let him, Liam replied, unconcerned. It's his word against mine, and his credibility is shot. There's more, Franklin continued. He claims to have recordings. Conversations between you and your team discussing the systematic dismantling of his business interests. Liam froze. That's not possible. All sensitive meetings take place in secure rooms, swept daily for devices. Apparently someone on your team was wired, Franklin said grimly. We don't know who yet, but the threat seems credible. Liam's mind raced through possibilities. Who on his team would betray him? Avery? Impossible. Serena? Jordan? Both had been with him for years, vetted thoroughly. Find out who, Liam ordered. Meanwhile, prepare a counterstatement. If Rollins wants to play this game publicly, we'll oblige him. After ending the call, Liam abandoned the Corvette repair and drove directly to Sovereign headquarters. In his private office, he called an emergency meeting of his executive team. Someone in this room is working with Preston Rollins, Liam announced without preamble once everyone was assembled. I want to know who, and I want to know now. Shocked silence greeted his statement. Avery, Serena, Jordan, and two other executives exchanged bewildered glances. Liam, what are you talking about? Avery asked. None of us would. Rollins is holding a press conference in 2 hours, Liam interrupted. He claims to have recordings of our meetings discussing his takedown. That information could only come from someone in this room. More stunned silence followed, broken finally by an unexpected voice. It was me. All heads turned to Serena Martinez, Liam's International Development Director and one of his longest-serving executives. Serena? Liam's voice was dangerously quiet. Explain yourself. Serena met his gaze unflinchingly. Not for Rollins. For you. What does that mean? Liam demanded. You've changed, Liam, Serena said simply. The man I've worked with for 12 years would never have destroyed someone so completely. Even someone who deserved punishment. The recordings weren't for Rollins. They were insurance, in case you went too far. And who decides what too far means? Liam asked, ice in his tone. When a man tries to kill himself because you've systematically destroyed everything he values. That's too far, Serena replied. When you refuse to meet with your wife to even discuss what happened. That's too far. Ex-wife, Liam corrected coldly. And since when is my personal life the concern of my executive team? Since it started affecting your business judgment, Avery interjected, moving to stand beside Serena. We've all been concerned, Liam. This vendetta against Rollins, it's not like you. Liam looked between them, a sense of betrayal building. So you've been what? Monitoring me? Planning some kind of intervention? Protecting you, Serena insisted. From yourself. The recordings weren't given to Rollins. We leaked that information to Franklin to force this conversation. There's no press conference. The revelation landed like a physical blow. His own team, his trusted inner circle, had manipulated him. For his own good, they claimed. Get out, Liam said, his voice deadly quiet. All of you. Now. Liam, Avery began. Now, Liam roared, slamming his fist on the conference table. They filed out silently, all except Avery, who remained standing at the far end of the table. You too, Liam said, not looking at his oldest friend. No, Avery replied simply. I'm not leaving until you hear what needs to be said. Liam laughed bitterly. Let me guess. I've lost my way. I'm not the man you knew. I've become obsessed with revenge. Save the speech. Avery, I'm not interested. You're right about one thing, Avery said, taking a seat directly across from Liam. You have become obsessed with revenge. But that's not why we're concerned. Enlighten me, Liam said sarcastically. We're concerned because you're throwing away the very things that made your success meaningful. Avery leaned forward. You built Sovereign not just to make money, but to create something of value. To share your passion for exceptional dining experiences. When's the last time you actually visited one of your restaurants as a customer, not as the owner checking the books? Liam didn't answer. That's what I thought, Avery continued. You've always maintained that automobile shop, not because you needed a cover, but because you genuinely love the work. When's the last time you worked on a car for the pure joy of it, not as an escape from your revenge planning? Again, Liam remained silent. And despite what happened with Brooke, you believed in love once. In connection. In family. Now you're alone in that giant penthouse, surrounded by wealth, but isolated from anything that matters. Avery stood. You've won, Liam. Rollins is destroyed. Brooke is gone. You've exacted your pound of flesh. But at what cost? The question hung in the air between them, unanswered as Avery finally turned and left Liam alone with his thoughts. That evening, Liam stood on the balcony of his penthouse, gazing out at the city lights. Everything Avery had said was true, though he was loath to admit it. The revenge that had consumed him for weeks had left nothing but emptiness in its wake. His phone rang. Franklin again. "What is it?" Liam answered tersely. "Sir, we've received information that Rollins is leaving the country. Private jet. Scheduled departure tonight at 11 p.m. Destination unknown, but likely somewhere without extradition." Liam should have felt satisfaction at this final evidence of his victory. Instead, he felt only weariness. "Let him go. Are you sure?" Franklin sounded surprised. "With the SEC investigation pending, this could be construed as flight to avoid prosecution. We could alert authorities, have him detained at the airport." I said, "Let him go," Liam repeated firmly. "It's over, Franklin. All of it." After ending the call, Liam made a decision. He'd spent weeks meticulously dismantling the lives of those who had betrayed him. Perhaps it was time to consider what remained of his own. Chapter 9. Ashes and Rebirth. 3 months after the fateful anniversary dinner, Liam sat at his desk at Sovereign Dining Group, reviewing the quarterly performance reports. The business had continued to thrive despite the personal turmoil of its founder, a testament to the solid foundation he'd built over the years. The door opened, and Avery entered with a tablet in hand. Their relationship had slowly mended in the weeks following the confrontation, with neither man directly addressing what had been said, but both acknowledging through their actions that a valuable friendship had been preserved. "Paris location finally got approval," Avery reported. "We can break ground next month." "Good," Liam nodded. "And the Chicago renovation?" "Completed ahead of schedule. Soft opening next week." Avery hesitated before adding, "Serena did an exceptional job coordinating with the design team." Liam's expression tightened at the mention of Serena, who had submitted her resignation the day after their confrontation. He'd neither accepted nor rejected it, leaving her in a professional limbo that was unfair to both of them. "Tell her," Liam began, then paused, reconsidering. "Ask her to come see me tomorrow. It's time we cleared the air." Avery nodded, visibly relieved. "I will." After Avery left, Liam opened his desk drawer and removed a small velvet box, Brooke's engagement ring, returned to him during their final meeting. He'd kept it there as a reminder, though of what exactly he wasn't certain. Perhaps of trust betrayed, or of his own part in creating the foundations for that betrayal. The divorce had been finalized 6 weeks earlier with minimal drama. True to his word, Liam had left Brooke the suburban house and a reasonable financial settlement. Not the fortune she might have hoped for, but enough to live comfortably if managed well. He'd heard through mutual acquaintances that she'd resumed her real estate career and was focusing on rebuilding her life. Preston Rollins was reportedly in Spain, attempting to reconstruct his business empire with limited success. Liam's phone buzzed with a text from Diego at the auto shop. "Finished the '67 Mustang restoration. She's a beauty. Coming by to see her." Something about the simple message brought a genuine smile to Liam's face, the first in months. The Mustang project had been a personal passion, a car he'd found in terrible condition and had been painstakingly restoring on weekends. It represented everything he'd nearly lost sight of during his campaign of revenge. The joy of creation, the satisfaction of working with his hands, the pleasure of bringing something broken back to life. "On my way," he texted back. An hour later, Liam stood in Murphy's auto shop, admiring the gleaming vintage Mustang. The restoration was flawless, candy apple red paint, restored original interior, engine purring like it had just rolled off the factory floor. "She's perfect," Liam told Diego, circling the car appreciatively. "You did amazing work on the upholstery." "Just following your specifications," Diego replied, unable to hide his pride. "So what's next for her? Selling to a collector?" Liam shook his head, running his hand along the car's hood. "No, I think I'll keep this one." The decision felt right in a way Lil had recently. This car, restored by his own hands, represented something genuine. Unlike the facade he'd maintained with Brooke, unlike the corporate persona he adopted in boardrooms, unlike the vengeful specter he'd become after discovering her betrayal. As Diego handed him the keys, Liam made another decision. "I'm keeping the shop too." Diego looked confused. Sir, Murphy's retiring next month, Liam explained. He offered to sell me the business outright. I've been considering it. But you already own. Diego stopped, suddenly uncertain how much he was supposed to know about his boss's other ventures. I own a lot of things, Liam acknowledged with a small smile. But this place has always been special. I think it's time I invested in it properly. Expanded the restoration business, took on more apprentices. Built something real here, not just a cover story. The relief on Diego's face was evident. Like many of the shop's employees, he'd heard rumors about Liam's true financial status, but none had dared ask directly. That's great news, boss, Diego said sincerely. This place wouldn't be the same without you. Later, as Liam drove the restored Mustang through the city streets, he found himself heading toward the suburbs, specifically toward the house he'd shared with Brooke. He hadn't been back since the night of their anniversary dinner, when he'd instructed security to pack her things and change the locks. He parked across the street, observing the property from a distance. The lawn was neatly trimmed, flowers planted in the beds Brooke had always enjoyed tending. A sold sign stood in the front yard. She decided to move on completely, it seemed. The sight brought no pain, only a sense of closure. What they'd had was over, destroyed by mutual deception, her infidelity, his hidden identity. Perhaps both had been symptoms of a relationship founded on incomplete truths. As Liam prepared to drive away, the front door opened. Brooke emerged, looking different than he remembered. Hair shorter, clothing casual but elegant. She was accompanied by an older woman who resembled her strongly. Her mother, Liam realized, whom he'd met only twice during their marriage. They didn't notice him sitting in the unfamiliar car across the street, engrossed in their conversation as they loaded boxes into Brooke's SUV. Moving day, apparently. Watching her, Liam was surprised to feel no anger, no residual bitterness. Only a distant sadness for what might have been, had either of them been brave enough to be honest from the beginning. He started the Mustang's engine, the sound drawing Brooke's attention momentarily. Their eyes met across the distance. A brief, unexpected connection. Liam nodded once, a simple acknowledgement of her presence, then drove away without looking back. The past could not be changed, but the future remained unwritten. Liam had spent 9 years hiding behind a false identity, then months consumed by revenge. Now, it was time to discover who he truly was. Neither the fictional mechanic nor the ruthless avenger, but something more authentic than either. As he accelerated onto the highway, pointing the Mustang toward the mountains outside the city, Liam felt something he hadn't experienced in a very long time. Freedom. Not from Brooke or from the constraints of his double life, but from the prison of his own making. The need to test others' loyalty, to punish betrayal, to control every aspect of his narrative. The road ahead was open, the restored engine responding eagerly to his touch. Like the car, Liam himself had been broken down and rebuilt. The restoration wasn't complete, might never be, but for the first time in longer than he could remember, he was moving forward rather than looking back. Behind him, the city receded in his rearview mirror, along with the ashes of the life he'd burned to the ground. Ahead lay the unknown, and the chance to build something true from the ruins of deceit. And there you have it. Another story comes to an end. What did you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this story, consider joining our community by subscribing. It means the world to us. For more stories like this one, check out the recommended videos on screen. And I'll see you there.